Under. Back post, Bouanga! Instant impact from the substitute Cherundolo, and Bouanga has scored for a third straight match. Apeyu gets it away to Under, forward, Bouanga in the foot race with Yaro. Bouanga's going to get on it. Bouanga might be in, chopping it back. Still Denny Bouanga! Cengiz Under's first friendly.
What is going on? We are back, baby. Section 128 LAFC, another podcast for you, another episode. We are here with Eric Holstrom, my usual co-host in this journey, and also a very special person joining us. Your mom. Nope, that's not true. We have Katie Vasconcelos, and I knew I was saying it right. Katie's here with us. Katie is a huge LAFC supporter, has been part of this journey, online journey, if you want to call it, for a very long time, and is going to be joining us for the show. But first, I have to give you guys a little bit of time to digest what's been a crazy 2 weeks for LAFC. I decided to go on mini vacation, and all hell breaks loose. It's very, very typical of this. Gareth Bale was signed when I was in Greece with my wife, and I've taken a vacation in 8 years, and they just basically signed the biggest name in football. But I'm going to go directly to Eric because yesterday was a very special day for him. It was essentially his last game as an LA resident. Definitely not his last game for LAFC, I'm sure. But Eric, how are you doing, my friend? And talk to me a little bit about what yesterday was, and what meant for you to be at BMO one last time as a resident of this beautiful city. And I hope you never forget about it.
Oh man, it was great. It was kind of a little surreal at times because it's my happy place. It's where I always go. So it's kind of hard to feel like I'm going to be not going to every single home game anymore because I pretty much have missed. I've yet to hit a perfect attendance on a season. I always miss like one home game, sometimes two, and that's it. And I make up for it with away games, but that doesn't really count. So it was a good time. Of course, you threw a very nice tailgate for me. I saw Katie at a tailgate, a bunch of other people, the 42 Originals. I even saw the Valley Leprechaun there, which, that's all I'm going to say about that. Incognito, he's officially banned, so there's no more comments on that one. But I saw everybody that I could have possibly wanted to see. A couple people that maybe would have been nice to, some cherries on the top. But that's that. The team couldn't come through. I know we're going to talk about that, but as far as the game, it was great to be there. Great to see everybody, and I have family here. I will be coming back. But I'll be coming as a resident of a different state that's not as beautiful of a state as California. California is where I found my happiness, and where my heart will always live. And along with LAFC, of course. Beautiful.
Very cool, dude. Now, listen, like I said, join us today. Section 28 is Katie Vasconcelos, just Katie Monsters, Katie Twin Monsters. However, I called her all kinds of stuff. You are an OG, diehard fan of this NA. May I call you a soccer mom? You're going to be bringing a different energy to this episode, to the show. But welcome, Katie. Talk to me a little bit about your LAFC experience, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, you guys. It's so great to be here. I've kind of been on your, on the Twitter Spaces with you guys for many years now. I've been with LAFC, following them. Actually, a season ticket holder. We bought our tickets probably in 2016. When it was just like a story out there. The stadium wasn't built yet. I actually didn't even know. Maybe I knew Carlos Vela was coming, but I wasn't quite sure. But my husband actually talked us into it, thought that would be great for our kids. And I have twin boys, and we grew up the last 8 years taking them to all the LAFC games. We live in San Diego, so I make the drive from San Diego to all the games. But I have to be honest, this year is the first year that we have not been coming to all the home games. The boys are in a very competitive soccer as well, and that's where soccer momming comes in. Their games this season have been at 5 o'clock on Saturdays, which makes it almost impossible for me to make it to all the great LAFC games that we want to be at. But I did make it to this last game. So I was happy to see Celso and Eric there, which I don't run into very often. So that was the best for me. Thanks for having
Very cool. Very cool. And by the way, Eric is also a day oneer, and I think it's worth at least mentioning. And quickly, Eric, talking to people that maybe are the first time that they don't know about your journey. You're not necessarily a soccer guy. You came from Minnesota, a state that has a soccer presence today, but not necessarily historically. So, talk to me about your experience as a day oneer, as I like to call you, because you've been here since this thing begun. You've been here before I begun to believe that LAFC was something worth following.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of it, I'm also a huge NFL fan, and I just love sports in general. And like a lot of American kids, I played soccer until I was about 10 years old, and then I went full into baseball and hockey. So I, didn't know much about it. And the other thing with me is I played so many sports growing up, and I loved playing sports. And I didn't like to watch sports that I played because I think I'd get a lot of like FOMO at it. And so when LAFC got announced, it was right around the time Katie got her tickets as well, because I know we both have really, really good seats. And you have really good seats when you were really early on the waiting list. Like they would basically, the earlier in the waiting list, the better seats you could choose from. So I saw that they announced the team, and I thought, this could be kind of a cool thing because I'm kind of priced out of all other sports stuff, and MLS is a very affordable thing. So I was like, this could be cool. I went to the first game and just fell in love with it right there. I didn't even know what offsides was the first game I went to. I didn't know how it worked because I know how it works with the blue line in hockey, go Kings. But, for soccer, it took me a while to realize that the last defender is essentially the blue line. And then once I figured that, I was like, okay, I get it. And
don't expose yourself too much, man. Just talk to us about how much you've actually learned over the time. And you have a very good knack for the game. It's been so fun knowing you through this journey. I got to start, a few years after you, and it's been fun seeing your evolution of learning about the game, the strategy. You're a very smart guy, and you totally understand what's going on, especially what's going on at LAFC. But look, before we go into our show, we have to talk about St. Louis. We're going to talk about Dolo's departure since we didn't have a show last week. We'll talk a little bit about Houston at the end. But before we go on, I actually have a video of the tailgate and what's going on yesterday, what went on yesterday. It's about 2 minutes long, so let's see if we can make this play right now. Sorry. We're going to do this at the end. It's fine. I'll repost it because, as you can see, it's not in the right format. I'll try again. Shit happens.
Okay, go ahead. Do it now.
I mean, I think in the phone it could work, but we're not going to try. I'll post it separately as a short. No big deal. And we keep going with our show. But look, let's talk about the game. It's a weird. What's that? Hey, Tapoja. Hey, look, it's a live show. We do what we can, and we move on. But look, I really wanted to talk to you guys about the game more than anything else, right? It's really what we're here about. One of the things that Katie will bring is some passion to the discussion. She's also very savvy about the game of soccer. She's got boys playing on the youth system. I believe your boys play for LAFC, and I don't know if they're still going through their clinic there. But, you have a lot of roots to this team, so it makes sense for you to talk to us. But I always like to start with, what did you guys think of the game? Let's not break it down too much yet. LAFC loses, comes back twice in the game to find, an equalizer, but it's not enough. And Eric almost sees his team loses in the last minute and the last game that he's here, but Denny Bouanga saves in the last minute. So I'll start with you, Katie. What did you think of the game? You said you're not coming to the game very often. And what has changed? What have you seen differently? And what was impactful for you about this particular game?
Well, first I'm going to start off with a real positive note. It's good to be home. Like, I came back to my spot, to the other people that have been around me for the last 8 years. I haven't seen them all season. I can't tell you the feeling I get when I see them, and just the pitch, everything. I was just in heaven. So arriving to my second home was basically how I felt, coming down those stairs, going into 124. I have a great seat where I am front row, where the other team actually warms up. So you will see me pestering those guys warming up. It's a great seat. But overall, I'm just going to give you my overall opinion of it. Real bummer that we tied, because it was obviously a game we could have won. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. That's been a lot of this season. I think that we obviously have been missing a lot of good opportunities that were kind of right in front of our goal. Quite a few of our players have done that. Happened yesterday, and they were down to 9 men on the field, or 10 men on the field. So with a red card, so we should have won, but it's better than a loss at home.
It's better than a loss at home. It does negate the really good tie away that we saw at Portland, a team that is doing well this season. I say certain things repetitive because I believe there would be the big truths of soccer. And Eric already know I'm going with this. At home, when you drop points on a tie, it's a drop point. When you go away and you take points away from how we did it at Portland, it's an advantage for LAFC, especially for a team that is above you on the standing. So it's not good to drop points at home, and it's also a change of form for LAFC because we've been, I'm accustomed, I want to say, or spoiled to see the team so dominant at home. We've always had such a good record at home, and this season it hasn't been that way, especially with something that I asked Tim Tillman about. It was like, this is a little bit different. How do you guys overcome it? And, his answer was like, hey, we got to finish our chances. But look, Eric, for you, Ante Razov makes, he's not his coaching debut. I've seen him before there, but he's on the sidelines for Cherundolo. What did you think of the game overall, starting with the starting 11? What did you think of Ante Razov putting his team to play?
Yeah, I think, it was a starting 11 I expected. And this team feels so much like 2021 LAFC, which was the last Bob Bradley year. We didn't make the playoffs. They also didn't make their chances. The one thing they have going better for them this year is that defensively, they're a little more solid. We used to see a lot of games get lost in the last 10 minutes that season. But again, we don't really see games won in the last 10 minutes of this season as well. I think that I'm sure you're going to get into the Razov interview at some point, but the attack is it's the exact same thing every time, which is get it to the wings. The wings have to beat two guys to make any sort of chance happen. Most of the time it doesn't. It's hard for a wing to beat two defenders, even Denny Bouanga, and sometimes he has to deal with a third defender. He'll beat the first two and can't get by the third one. And you can't really expect that of anybody in this game at all at this level. So I'm not sure what answers this team has at this point. And the one thing that I will say about the 21 LAFC, which the parallel is, I think this LAFC team is not very fun to watch. I mean, if you compare them to other seasons, like we have a blast, and it's not, of course, like a bad LAFC is still better watching than almost anything else out here. But compared to other LAFCs, this is one of the hardest LAFCs to watch because you just don't feel that confidence. When the team is buzzing, the whole stadium is just like electric. And now everybody's just kind of like, it's like we're all going through the motion. The team's going through the motions. The passes aren't there, which, as you allude to, I don't think we have a midfielder who can make that pass. Like going to the wings is the best chances we have because the midfielders turn the ball over trying to play it centrally. And so that's kind of where we're stuck. As you said, Bouanga had probably four goals he could have put away, and he put two of them away, that was a difference.
And that was my point. And Kate, I'll come back to you about Razov, but that was my point on my tweet this morning. I did some analysis on the numbers, and Bouanga FC is not working out because while he scored two, we let two win. It doesn't work that way. Goal differential win games and plus and minus win games. Your ability to remain competitive with that group, remain tight, remain cohesive. And I'm seeing a little bit of loss with that. And I don't want to say that we already lost the leadership upstairs, but when Razov had a chance to show what he was up for and essentially prepared the team, I didn't see much of a difference. And you know what? I was thinking, there's one thing that's been around since '2 in this stadium, and it's Ante Razov. I think it's been here since day zero. So, Katie, to me, do you think, with Dolo moving on, and I know we're going to have a whole segment about him leaving, But
Yeah.
what you saw of Razov, I called it a mini job interview. Were you impressed? Were you sold on giving Razov this sort of de facto job if indeed this team goes on a run and it does really well? Why would you get rid of the nucleus that is winning?
No, I don't know that. I don't know that it's his job to lose, really. I think that he can. I don't know if he's up for the job. Who knows what his intentions are? Perhaps, I don't know. And who knows if LAFC already has someone in their back pockets or a couple other names on their list. But yes, the whole coaching staff has been there for the whole time, pretty much. Steve is probably the newer of the whole coaching staff. The probably least experience of MLS work probably was Steve. And him coming in, that ruffled a lot of feathers, making him head coach. But he did a great job. But we'll get back to that. I'm just going to say that I think Ante did a fine job yesterday. I don't think the players are living up to their potential. I think that him putting 4 forwards out there was different than what Dolo would have done. I think he did make the same subs, but it's like, what are you taking off the bench that's going to provide you a whole lot of difference than what you already have seen in the last few games? I don't know. I'm not sure that this team quite has it, and that it factor that makes these teams so electric. I don't know that it has it. I think you have a few key players that have it, and maybe the other new ones aren't quite there yet. And remember that this team always changes year to year. It's not 2 changes. We have like 7 or 8 new players. I mean, and then you're hoping that you're going to get an electric team together. I don't know. So there's a lot going on. But yesterday was not enough.
Sorry. No, I was going to say there was a lot of electricity in that game, 2 massive momentum swings. We fall behind, which has been a kryptonite of this team. And then suddenly Denis Bouanga caves back twice to salvage this game. And I have a question about Denis Bouanga and your opinion. I personally feel that part of the issue is that we're relying on Denis too much. And at the same time, he's on the hardest part of the field to be impactful unless there's a counter strike like we saw on the second goal when he beat his defender 1-on-1 and made a genius play, right? But would it make sense perhaps to move on from Bouanga to create flexibility so that you can build from within and start kind of making some really impactful changes within your roster? So Eric, I'll go to you on this one because I know I love Bouanga. You love Bouanga. He's our guy. I had Lala saying he can play for any team. That's not true, Alexi. You're wrong. But tell me, is moving on from Bouanga now not a good move? He's given us so much already.
It's harder to move on from him now than it would have been in the offseason. And I had mentioned this before in the offseason. I said this right now, and this is back December, this is the biggest trade value we are ever going to have for Bouanga because he kind of started to sputter towards the end of last season. And I just had a sense, because Father Time is undefeated, that, the decline was going to continue. And, we kind of, we have the hot potato in our hand and we weren't able to move it on. So I think now to move on from Bouanga it's not going to be much of a transfer fee. I mean, I think Tigres offering a bunch of money for him and another Liga MX team, rumors in France, but I think he's going to be here till the end of the season. I think that this roster and this strategy we have is time to move on. If you look at the first goal came from a beautiful Cengiz under cross, and he's not going to be around. We have no good crosses on our team. Under put a nice cross in, and that took a lot of pressure off Bouanga. He basically just served it up for him. We don't really have other guys that can serve that ball up. And for the massive transfer fee he's going to be gone in the summer. So unless they're going to overhaul this roster, which I don't see because they have Martinez on that right side, is Martinez going to become that crosser? I don't think so because Martinez is more of a shooter. He can play a bit of a 10 underneath, but Martinez is a guy that you want him set up in one-on-one challenges, and he's going to dominate. If he has 2-on-1 challenges, he still can beat them some of the time. But again, this becomes very hard to do at this level. So as far as Bouanga, this starts getting into who's our coach going to be next year. What's the strategy? Razov was good with Bradley Ball. I think that's when our offense was the best, is when those two guys were really working on the offense. We lacked defense at that point. And I think Cherundolo coming in, focused on the defense, but we lost the Bob Bradley offensive style, which I think we rode through 22, and that the players still had that muscle memory of how they attacked with the Dolo defending, and that worked. But I think that muscle memory has gone. And I think Razov on his own, and MDS, I know he's not so much the attack either, but we just don't have that attacking mind that can really unlock things. And we also don't have the personnel on the field that can unlock things. Giroud is just
personnel. So, Katie, personnel is a big question to me, because I see these rosters, and first of all, the midfield is extremely thin, and all these guys are essentially 8s or 6s. Very little creativity from a midfielder outside of Tim Tillman. I preach to move Martinez into a true 10 and let him float like a Messi-esque guy, or make him the second attacker, but have someone very close to him, versus isolate him on the right side, like, he's Carlos Vela all of a sudden. So the little Uruguayan Oliveira, so talk to me about this roster construction. You talk about this team not being very exciting. Is this how much John Thornton and his moves have as an impact on what's going on right here? Where have we gone wrong?
Well, I think that, I kind of do think it kind of went a little wrong when we signed. I mean, oh God, I hate to say this, Giroud. I'm sorry. In my opinion, you do not bring a player in and then change an entire team around them. And I know everyone was like, well, it's not Giroud's fault. It's not his fault. It is our fault for bringing him in and making him our highest paid DP and expecting him to do something that our team is not built to do. And then saying, oh, well, our team should change everything to fit his style of play. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So I think that was not the best signing. I think everyone knows that by now. Also, I think, and talking about Father Time, Bouanga's 30? He's still young. I think he's still prime Bouanga. I just don't think that he has enough support around him that is, on his level to get him there. And like you said, we don't have people crossing and so forth. If we're not going to keep Under, who obviously did a great thing in this game, but he hasn't been that consistent in the games that he has played in. He's not starting for us. Is that really the best use of our personnel as well? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not seeing a whole lot. I think that Timmy Tillman did an excellent job yesterday, and I think he did an excellent job. Was it in Portland? I think that, but then he's had off games, but I don't think he's the problem. So there are, we have some younger players coming in. We have, who's the Brazilian midfielder?
Igor Jesus. And the number 6.
Yep. Is he the right person also? He's a younger player as well. He's got some learning to do. And I know Martinez is a younger player. He's not consistent, but boy, is he very clever. And he's also giving us things that no other player would. And what does Cherundolo fault him for? For not being consistent.
Right.
So, it's kind of a mishmash roster this year. It's just not quite flowing, in my opinion.
That's
that's
what we're here for your opinion. Sorry, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I also want to think to add on that. Like, I think Katie's right. And because this roster is mismatched a bit, players are having to try to basically do more than they should have to do if the team was functioning correctly. So they end up trying to give that 110%. And when you start to try to do too much, that's when you start to make mistakes, and that's when sloppy things happen and you make the giveaways. And so I think in a bit the players are kind of frustrated because things aren't working, so they start to try to play more as individuals instead of the team, because when they play as a team, it's not working.
Yeah, and you're playing with Giroud, who's not going to help, really. I have got to be honest, the last 2 games I have seen some good things from him, but prior to that, it was taking up space on the field that should have been put by somebody else.
You're taking space, man.
And he's a lot of space.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And I think what's frustrating watching last year is that like, oh, it's working with Kai Kamara. It's gonna work with Giroud, right? So everybody
Kai.
made this connection
I miss
that because
Kai.
Kai was having so much
Kai.
success, that Giroud was going to be an upgrade, and there were two different players, and Giroud showed up like not knowing anything, and has had a hard time. But I see some progression from him. He's not a DP level player, at least we haven't seen it, and changes for as good as he's been, right? Or for as mediocre as you want to call it, he's a DP, and we have him from a limited period of time. And I think when he plays, we're a little bit better when he doesn't. And I showed some numbers about that today. I think the more he plays, the better he's going to be for us. And he was an immediate impact to the game, right?
Yeah.
So to me, Razov missed on the starting lineup. That was his big miss for me. But we can make the argument that was Dola's starting 11. Hey, look, I have the video of him, and I asked a couple of questions. Let's try this again. Let's see if I can play the video of the questions. It's gonna be from Twitter, so it shouldn't be so bad. Hey, hold on a second. So what it means in the fact that he made that announcement early in this week.
I think two separate things. Steve's announcement is a family decision. We have Steve's back. We fully support the decision. Family comes first to anyone in this club. Those emotions were, I think, quickly put aside because we have a season to complete. Me on the sidelines, whether it's Mark, Oka, Enrique, not a lot. I just wore some different clothes today. We expect the same things from our players. The effort was not lacking tonight, but there's no big emotional swing of this. We take it in stride. We have a resilient group, and we're going to keep going forward.
And excuse me, sorry, I was just wondering the decision to take both of your starting center backs out, and after that, St. Louis happens to score. Do you regret the decision? Anything about the fact that both of them were out the game late? Just talk to me about.
These were not tactical subs.
Okay, they were more physical subs.
They were not tactical subs.
Okay.
Nobody changes two center backs in a game, so we had to make subs.
You answered my question. Thank you so much. All right. I think we got a little bit of a picture of what happened there, and hopefully you guys got to hear a little bit of what he said. Reactions about what Ante said. I'll go to you, Eric.
Yeah. What I liked about him is that he was very straightforward and honest. I think, and not to spoil more of the interview, the way he deals with questions, he's very direct about it. Unlike, I think he doesn't have that arrogance about it. He's much more matter of fact. And I think he treats the people watching this as grownups, as opposed to, like a kid that you're coming up with an excuse for them why they can't go out and play with their friends. I don't know the analogy, but obviously their fitness. And that's another thing I was thinking of too, because we've been into for a couple of years about their sports science that they use at LAFC and how they measure the loads of players and how much of the substitutions are really even controlled by the manager and how much of it is controlled by the sports science team. And I know with Marlon, with his injury history, coming back from injury, it made sense for him to come out. With Long, I guess I saw him kind of limp a little bit earlier in the game and come out. So maybe he felt a knock and that's why he got pulled out. So, you can't fault the guy for the answer. And he's right. He's like, you never pull two center backs out of the game. So there we go. It wasn't somebody's stupid decision. Yeah,
and that's exactly what I was like. Why would you do that? And then when we were sitting there, we were like, "Wait, why would you do that?" And we never know who's hurt and who's not. Katie, does that give you a little bit of Bob Bradley vibes? Though I got Bob vibes from these answers and the kind of the dryness, and we let him off the hook, kind of like angry man, And I what did you think of his
I noticed.
his post presser, and I just use my questions just for entertainment since I lost my voice and courage.
No, I actually I didn't mind his directness at all. I remember Bob's being that way as well. We all kind of were irritated with Bob because he didn't have a real personality. He's very angry, very direct, kind of like, someone's pissed off neighbor's dad, like telling you to get off your lawn. But no, I liked it. I was fine with his answers. They were truthful. I noticed how he, it was honestly better than Steve's answers. And I would take his responses, no problem. Did you feel nervous asking him?
Well, I knew going through the motions of asking, wait, did you regret? And I think the regret part probably didn't have to be there. Do you regret taking both of your center backs?
Like, yeah.
I think I regret saying that because, I think that's when he was like, oh no, this guy thinks I made a mistake.
He looks at you like, you think I'm fucking stupid?
No, yeah, you think I'm fucking stupid? So
They'll punch you in the face too. That's the thing. They'll punch you in the face.
So the voice thing was like, I literally had something stuck in my throat after the first question. But I think I probably should have steered away from, hey, did you fuck up on purpose or what? Anyways, I'm sorry. I just wanted to know. I was so confused. Marlon, I have my reservations with Marlon. He's my guy. I like him. He's Brazilian. But let's be honest. If you're not ready for 90 minutes, you just cannot play for this team as a starter. And it concerns me that you have to be managing minutes of such an important position. It's not something you should do lightly. And Tafari's not having necessarily a good season for us. And to put him in that game, I thought it was a little bit reckless. Now, you don't have the script always, you don't have the answers, but it happened the way it happened. But anything else you guys want to talk about this game?
Well, I just wanted to say once again, Chanot not being in these games and from the get-go of this season has really hurt the team. Yeah. I feel so bad for that guy getting another head injury. If he ever hears anything, I just pray for that guy and hope he's okay with his head injuries, and that we can maybe see him again soon because he really makes a huge difference on our back line.
Look, Eric, anything else you want to talk about St. Louis? I mean, at the end of the day, these are guys that are like the people in front of us. They were St. Louis supporters. They looked at me and it's like, we don't get to score two goals a game. Yeah. So they were actually loving life. They got to score 2 goals away. And I was concerned. I asked Tim Tillman that question. Like, hey, what has changed? You've been here for a while. And suddenly, you're allowing 2 goals at home to a team that has no offense, bad set pieces. Is it a little bit about the announcement? Did they already know that they were playing for a lame duck coach? Now I'm totally reaching here, Eric, but I just kind of understand what's going on. These guys not motivated enough. What's going on upstairs? And we're allowing 2 goals at home to a team that had 5 on the season.
Yeah, and Portland before was 3 goals, wasn't it? I mean, we've been a strong defensive team. Even our first early in the season, we were not giving up more than 1 goal a game, hardly ever. But the other side is we weren't scoring much more than 1 goal a game ever. So we score 3 goals. We score 2 goals. I think part of this, again, is the team has been realizing their attack is really stagnant. And so I think they're starting to try to take more chances, push more guys forward to try to do more, and they get caught out of position. And I think this is what happens. One, that set piece goal, was Tafari coming in and nobody really marking the guy that scored. He kind of had a free run at Lloris. Nobody slowed his run down, which allowed Lloris not to get to the ball as quick as he could. I only put that one on Lloris, and then it just kind of became a scrum for the ball, and we did not win the second balls, and we've been struggling winning second balls all season. So I think with this lack of defense is, again, coming from the players reacting and saying, hey, we need to do more offense. We need to score more. So they're thinking more attack. And what's happening now is their defending is not as disciplined and they're getting run through like that. And again, this just comes because everything is just not clicking for these guys.
Look, as Timmy said in the game, all you had to do is put some balls away, and then we would not even having this conversation. It would have been a very different type of show. LAFC outshot St. Louis 10-1 in the first half, dominated, but couldn't finish early. That was a common common theme of the interviews for all the players.
Though.
They knew they have to put these away. However, I'm going to say one thing, and then we'll move on into the Dolo talk a little bit, which is we're in a 3-game unbeaten run, baby. We haven't lost in 3 games, but we have seen a lot of ugly soccer. But if you're across town and you're looking at your team winless, completely hopeless, we are still in a very good position. Of course, we're not playing for CCC anymore. It looks like Vancouver is going to take Miami down. Let's go Canada, go. But, if you take that away, we still have a lot to play for, and we hope, that Dolo and these guys can take this team somewhere, especially after this announcement. Cherundolo suddenly announced he's going to step down after 2025. I thought a lot about this. What's with this timing? It coincides with the end of the European season. All the coaching vacancies are beginning, so he may get a job in Germany and be out of here before we know it. So I go to you guys on your first impressions. I don't think we had a chance to talk about this. Katie, I go to you first. Cherundolo steps down after 2025. First impressions, raw impressions from Katie.
I have to be honest, it was like, where were you when you heard the Dolo news? Like, I was like, I freaking couldn't believe when I looked, was this real? I didn't know if it was like a Juan meme that he made up, like a Dolo. Like if it was fake news. And then realizing it wasn't, I thought that was very timely. Yes, it's probably all with his family. I'm sure they want to move back, and good for them. I'm very happy for them. But I can't say that the timing isn't a little suspicious with how much noise we were all making about Dolo out. I'm sure that it got to his family. It got to him. It was a lot. It was a lot. There was people in the stands with Dolo out. I feel like someone paid people to do that at some point. That's hard for a coach, but that's something that people in that position have to deal with. And he's got to get used to that, because it's almost every 4 to 5 years that people are going to be coach out. We need a change. I'm sad. I'm sad. I think he was, from what we all heard, he is a manager that the team loved. He really bonded, and the players related to him because he's a player, was an insane player. And so I think that, it's a sad thing, but I think the timing is probably right. Okay, let me say, not right now. We could have waited till the end of the season. I don't know why he would do this now and then give the 6 months left that we have. I don't think that was the greatest thing, but whatever, I support him no matter what. It doesn't matter. But I'm very curious to see how this is going to affect our team.
So, Eric, when do you think he made that decision? Was it in the beginning of the season? I'm going to see how it rides, or did something happen? And, he just, do you think this was premeditated in any way? Or suddenly he woke up one morning and said, hey, I just lost to Messi and I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And LA Fires just tuned me out. The coach, what do you think? When do you think he came to that decision, Eric?
I think it had.
We're speculating, and also tell me what you think about the decision. Of course,
my speculation is it had to have came after the loss to Miami in CCC, and what made that loss really hard is the way that we lost that game. Going there defending a 1-0 lead is, if we didn't win, there's probably 90 ways to lose that game and be happy with it. And there's probably 10 ways to lose that game and be completely upset about it. And the way we lost it was one of the worst, because not only we go in there, the first thing you think of is don't concede an early goal in this situation. This has to be the goal. And we scored an early goal to go up 2 with the away goal. Now all of a sudden we have a 3-goal cushion here. And to just completely lose it on that and just let them go in, and the whole thing is like we talked about, even if they wouldn't have got that penalty, they would have scored another goal. If we would have stopped, it was inevitable that they were just going to push through us, and we were way too slow to react, way too slow in the tactics. And if this happens any other league in the world, if this happens in Mexico, if this happens in Brazil, if this happens in most European leagues, the coach is gone after something like that, because you can't be a serious team with serious ambition and let that go like it's nothing. And I think a lot of the pressure from the fans came on, and I think the announcement came because he wanted to finish his season, and maybe it was a way to try to get the fans to like stop with the Dolo out. It's like, okay, I'm out. So, you all can chill with the signs and the chants and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, it's like now we have a lame duck coach for 6 months. It's like, to me, this is it's absurd. It's absurd. And you can look like, who was the last coach in international soccer anywhere that announced they were quitting after a really tough loss and a really tough string of performances, and they're going to quit in 8 months? Like this.
That sounds pretty good to me, man. That's a nice landing.
Yeah, and
I don't think it lasts 8 months. And by the way, why wouldn't you want a job immediately in Germany? With the Bundesliga wrapping up, Ancelotti is going to Brazil. These coaching conversations are happening. And if you're not tied to anybody next year, you're going to sit around for a year and wait for a job, wait for the phone to call after the Bundesliga begin. So, I mean, I guarantee you conversations are being had. Am I right or wrong, Katie? I mean, why would you stick around like you're going to go to a new country? If there's a job lined up for you, who might have a job handover? I mean, talk to me about like, where does he, when does he leave? Is he really going to stay the whole season?
I mean, to me, I think I said it as soon as I heard it. There's no way he's going to stay the whole season. I don't see it. I think his family's going to go there to start school. I think that they're probably going to move over the summer. And LAFC, I think that you're right, that they probably just, let the fans know that this is happening. We heard you. And, LAFC likes to throw a bone, I feel like, out to their fans. And I think that was known because we don't have Griezmann. Like, everyone was hoping for something. Like, every fan was like, oh my God, someone's going to come and someone's going to fix this. And maybe that was the bone that they were like, okay, well, let's give them this bone that, yes, the coach is going to leave. So you guys can shut the hell up about that. And so things will get better in the fans' minds. That's what I felt like this kind of was. And also saving face for Dolo as well. Because, a lot in other countries he would have been like shit canned right away. But I don't think that they had that type of relationship with him. They care about him.
They do.
And they do.
And
they care about
LAFC does things, to be honest,
Yeah.
right? Remember the Bob, it was all very, very gentlemanlike.
Oh, they let him
so I
go.
think-
Yeah,
I
they let
think
him finish his contract.
It was a mutual agreement to leave, where no hard feelings, right? But I've always been told don't overstay your welcome, and I think Dolo kind of knows it's time to go. I saw him after the Austin game take a picture with a fan, and it just seemed like he was genuinely not present. And there's many reasons why that could be. Of course he's lost the game, right? But it just didn't feel like he was feeling it, right? And if you're not feeling it, maybe your guys are not feeling it in the locker room. But kudos to him. It's a personal decision, and we'll keep it at that, right? His record, 87, 43, and 26, 6 finals appearance. Say what you want to say. I think that's an incredible record for a coach. And hopefully it works out for him. You look at Ronnie Doyle, he left something very good in Major League Soccer and then just been losing ever since leaving NYCFC, including Atlanta United, which is in complete shambles. I don't know who's worse, Atlanta United or LA Galaxy. I think it's the Galaxy. But, you get my point, right? Like, you might be walking away from something really good. And this flexibility that we have in Major League Soccer, you're not going to find in Bundesliga. Your team's not cutting it. You don't have the resources that we have it. You don't have JT on the speed dial to get you another midfielder. I want to know how you're going to manage through adversity, because we all know what he wants, right? Do you agree that he wants to be the U.S. men's national team next guy? Do we agree that that's what he really wants?
I wonder about that, Celso, because like part of it with this, I wonder if this is just me speculating, if Cherundolo has looked at this experience and just like, I just don't want this fucking headache at all, because the pressure it is to be a coach. Look at not to totally compare apples to apples, but Jurgen Klopp, he came and basically went backpacking through Montana for like 2 months and it's just like, I'm not.
And then he got bored.
I'm going fishing because I'm clearing my mind from this. There's so much stress, so much pressure. People like us screaming at them for every single mistake they have. Everybody, and to some people, it's like, why do they want this aggravation? So, and Cherundolo is such a calm demeanor. He's such kind of a quiet guy. And so sometimes I wonder if it's just a little too loud for what he likes, and if that's a side of it that is tough for him. So whether he goes on the USM national team, if he thinks LAFC dolo out is going to be hard, anything national team, this is going to be 10 times of what any of us are going to be, So we'll see what it is for that. I will one other thing, and this is something I believe Twellman talked about, is when he mentioned LAFC, like when it comes to coaching jobs in North America, LAFC is one of the greatest, most sought after coaching jobs that anybody in the world could have coming here. And players coming to this city, they'll come here like Miami. It's not like Salt Lake. It's not like Dallas. Like, players want to come to LA. Like, we can draw the best players who will take pay cuts just to be here. And so Cherundolo ball of playing kind of this pragmatic counterattacking style, when we have the ability to get the most talented players in the league here, when you have a superior quality of players, usually you want to play on the front foot and you want to play a much more aggressive style than this. So this is a whole other thing with the coach, is that, we might want somebody more like what Bradley did, is like, hey, this is LA. We're going to have the best players. We're going to force the other team to react to what we're doing. And we're going to be forward and hammering at them the entire game and make them deal with us. So this is kind of the other thing that LA has that Cherundolo doesn't bring with the coaching style, that maybe with the next coach, we're going to get a little more of a flamboyant style, which I think we need.
Flamboyance. Well, I think we need to appeal to our Latino community. I know a lot of fans are a little bit alienated with the French football community, whatever it is, and the loss of Mexican icons like Carlos Vela and such. So Katie, it's a tough question, but I'll ask you because you've been here since day one. Would you consider a Latin American or Mexican coach for the next vacancy? And tell us, who do you think should be the next coach? To me, should be Chiellini. And I have my reasons documented for that. And I think you'd be excellent at that. But talk to me about who do you think should be the coach, and and whether it should be a Latino man or an Italiano.
Oh my God! Well, can we all agree that we loved the passion we saw on versus Portland? Because I was literally standing in my house screaming at the television and like cheering at the like, I love the passion, and Steve was freaking passionate. And you know what? Who's passionate is Italians. You gotta love that passion they have. No, I would take a coach. I think a passionate coach would be a really great departure from what we've been seeing. I think we all want some more liveliness on the field. I know that my husband is from Mexico, and he is very like this season especially. He's like, it's just not fun to watch LAFC anymore. And coming from us who are like full diehards, we never miss a game. Like, we love it. He's like, ugh, I can't even get through the games anymore. So hopefully we'll get a coach that has some passion. I would love Chiellini to come back, but I don't see it happening. But man, that would be ideal.
Do you have any names that you would if it happened, let's say Razov, Curtin is out there, but like anybody, who would you go to? El Piojo.
Okay, so you guys, I'm going to be honest. I don't know all the other coaches, so I won't even pretend to. But I don't think that us recycling all these MLS coaches is a great idea. So
like Jaime Lozano, for example. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think you either get someone new, like Flamengo did. New ideas. It's in to make these little player guys into coaches like the Lakers did. You know what I mean? They're all doing it. I think we should just go after someone. I mean, if someone told me that the reason why Chiellini couldn't be our coach is because he doesn't have the licenses. Eric, what do you say to someone like that? Hey, Chiellini doesn't have a license. You don't think he can coach a team? I mean, come on, it's Chiellini.
First off, you brought up El Piojo. Like, that's the guy Razov punched and gave a black eye. There's no way.
Yeah.
Low-key El Piojo.
That was the walkie-talkie game. That was hilarious.
Yes,
I like that game.
Yes.
I mean, You bring up Chiellini. Obviously, like, I don't even care how Chiellini coaches. I just love that guy, and he will only teach our guys all of the dark arts to win games. And speaking of dark arts, you already know, like, if I'm going to pick any one coach, it's going to be a guy coming on a contract in December, Mr. Abel Ferreira of Palmeiras. I think he would absolutely crush it in our league because the guy is a coach that knows how to beat superior talent, and he also knows how to beat inferior talent. He won every possible South American trophy in his first 2.5 years of coaching. Libertadores twice, Brasileiro twice, Copa do Brasil. He won everything, every trophy possible in 2.5 years, and no coach has ever done that. And so I think that he's probably going to Europe. He's making something like $6 or $7 million a year salary down there, which is, I don't know if any MLS coaches make $6 or $7 million a year either. But if we're going to take a coach that's going to dominate even a salary cap league, he's the guy. But here I am talking about a flamboyant style, and he plays terrorist ball, where he basically just counterattacks, and his guys foul like crazy. And that's what they do, and it works. So I would love to see him. As far as like Emeki's coach, I don't really feel passionately one way or another about that. I just want a coach that can win. And the trouble, again, is this is a salary cap league. So the coach has the same resources as 29 other teams. And so to separate yourself, it's not like you're going out there against a team that's playing with 1/10 of your salary and a bunch of second division guys with a couple first sprinkled in. You have to coach to get that. And that's why a lot of people say this league is very tactical compared to other leagues. In Brazil, it's a very physical league as opposed to a tactical league. So yeah, it leaves a lot there. We're going to see who they get. And but Abel Ferreira is number one for me, man. I would love to see that guy.
Let's take Columbus.
Keep dreaming, baby. Sorry, Katie, go ahead.
Columbus is coach. He's the best out there right now in this league.
Yeah, it is. And I think, as much as we love Abel, there's no way he's going to come to Major League Soccer right now. It doesn't make sense. You might as well look for Chichi, a guy that was actually in training, has some roots. Mark dos Santos is Portuguese. But, if you're going to bring a Brazilian coach, you're trying to build a Brazilian nucleus, in my opinion, right? Because no Brazilian coaches have proven to be very good coaches in Major League Soccer. So if you're bringing him in, there's a reason, right? You're gonna build around that, and I just don't see it. Vancouver changed coaches, brought Jasper Sorensen, someone somewhat unknown, probably with a lot of training, as Mikey just mentioned, someone that kind of been through the ranks and is used to manage a team with limited resources, right? And he's been really successful at Vancouver. And I make the argument that the coaches that will do well are the ones that can manage resources the best, right? Because we know that if your DPs are sitting in the bench, as Under is, and if you're not getting the most out of your players, you're probably not going to make it in this league. But look, we got to make some time for the Houston game. We always do this. We always run out of time. But today we have a special person with us, so we don't want to do that. We want to end it on time. So I want to talk about Houston, which is going to be another home game, right? Another chance for us to put some points on that standings and start climbing. We're 8th. We're not doing that bad. We're still in a playoff position. A quick look at Houston so far. I don't know. There's not much out of that team. Is one of the weaker teams, but we already lost to them once. So I go to you, Eric, first. What do you think of this game? A trap game or whatever you want to call it. LAFC almost has like I would say a duty to win this one, huh? At home against a team that you already lost away.
Houston they're just this team that seems to have our number way too often. They beat us when we're down. They get some bad beats, and sometimes we stomp them. But it's interesting. I mean, they got Franco Escobar again, who always plays good against us. Jack McGlynn going there. He's a danger. So we can't give their midfielders space. Where they are lacking, at least up front, is they don't quite have the speedsters they used to have up front. They're much more tactical this year. But if if we can't tighten up our defense like we had earlier in the season, like we could run into trouble here. They also will Eric Duenas is on Houston right now, so that's another guy that we could see. And they have Nico Ladero too. So Houston's an interesting team.
He barely plays.
Yeah,
plays.
no, I mean
they just beat Austin 2-0. And they got a lot of guys that I barely knew. Jonathan Bond is the goalkeeper now for Houston, which is interesting. Bassi and Ponce are the attackers. Jack McGlynn, as you mentioned, is one of their players. And Artur, the midfielder. And the guy that always has our number, by the way, is Dorsey, the blonde.
Every time.
That dude is a great MLS back, and he always crushes against LAFC. Katie, go ahead. What do you think of this game? I think part of the reason is that they have a really good coach in Ben Olsen, which kind of have basically schooled Cherundolo in the art of MLS. Here's how I do it.
Yeah, they're tricky sons of bitches over in Houston. First of all, I don't believe in trap games, but I also don't believe that you're going to beat a team just because they're worse than you, because that we freaking lost to San Jose last year and they were shit. But yeah, Houston is, they've gotten a few new players, like you mentioned. They got Jonathan Bond, they got Toyosi. I'm not going to pronounce his last name right. Olusana. And Linger as number 9 midfielder. So they have replaced some of the players that they lost. When we watched them, who does it? They had Carrasquilla and Hector Herrera. What? God, he was great.
That was a tough midfielder. Tough midfield to overcome.
Team they were. I thought they were great last year. So, I don't know how they're going to do against us. I mean, honestly, I'm going to be honest, LAFC, I don't feel confident in any game at this point. So I'm not going to ever say like, oh yeah, for sure. But I think we can hold them. That's what I'm going to say for this one. But I'm definitely never going to go out on a limb and say we're going to beat them 3-0. I just don't.
So Bouanga. Okay, Bouanga scores 3 games in a row now. He seems like he's in form. Palencia is now like a de facto leader for this team. I love to see it. My question is, who do you start around Bouanga, right? I think Under at this point has to be played every single minute that he's available. He's here on a rental. You know what I mean? You already paid for it. Might as well take advantage of it. What are your thoughts, Eric, on what are you going to see out of the attacking players? Are we going to see more Martinez on the right, and then Giroud in the middle, or are we going to make some changes to the starting 11?
I mean, Under's loan is going to end in 2 months, and unless we decide we're going to pay $24 million for him to transfer, which I absolutely don't see happening, because I think we had an opportunity to pay $20 million for Griezmann, and that was too much for us. So how much do you play a guy that you're losing in 2 months when you have young guys like Martinez and Ordaz that, they're developing and need those minutes, early 20-year-old guys and this comes a dilemma. Do you chase these 3-point, Under gives us a better chance for 3 points on Houston. Playing Martinez and Ordaz gives us a better chance of getting those 3 points in August and September. So where do you want to go with that? So that's kind of where my dilemma is. Under probably should start, but for me, I would roll with Martinez, Ordaz at the 9, and Bouanga, and that's kind of what I want to go with, because I want the kids to get some minutes here. Because just like Katie said, I just am not enthusiastic or excited about this team, and I think things need to change up. So start throwing some of the kids in there and see who wants to really take it. I think Holm, I don't know what's going on with him either. I know he was injured for a while. He seems to be having trouble getting the team. What is he the creative guy that we've been missing? It's hard to tell because he doesn't seem to hit the field. I do know that Jude Terry on LAFC 2 has been tearing that up. 16-year-old kid. I would love to see him get some minutes, even if it means we're not winning games. I think it's time to start looking towards 26.
What? Did you just tell me, even if we're not winning games, we're going to give Jude Terry, the LAFC 2 guy, LAFC 2 who just got smashed 5-1, some minutes?
Oh, shit.
It's not.
Uh-oh.
It wasn't Jude Terry's fault they got smashed 5-1. He's an attacking midfielder.
I don't watch LAFC too, so please enlighten me. I just don't think he's the answer. I think we made some moves.
He's
and
not
we let some
now.
guys go that probably put us here. We have no midfield creativity outside of the three that starts, and you start having problems. If any of them get hurt, seriously, we're totally screwed. Jude Terry will get a ton of minutes. You get your wish.
Look, he's a guy who is creative, and we don't have that guy since we got rid of Atuesta. We have no midfielder that can play these passes. He's a guy that could. So if we're struggling to make these middle passes, if we've written that off, and this is one thing, as Razov was saying in the interview, they get in trouble because guys start making passes that they don't practice. He's like, you receive the ball, you make a simple pass. And we saw them. They would try to make those passes through the middle, and guys weren't expecting it. Giroud makes those tricky passes that would work, except nobody's running on them, So I think these are the passes that they're not practicing, but in games they start taking these things out that they're not supposed to. And so I don't know if they're just have completely abandoned the idea of creative midfield passing. It seems like they have, because when they do, it doesn't work. So if we're just going to continue with the Bouanga hero ball going down the wings, then of course, get Under in there, get Giroud in there. Let's throw Tillman, Delgado, and Igor Jesus, who I love Igor Jesus. He's the guy that for me is the best player that I see we have out there right now, who I want for the future.
He's consistent. He's not flashy, but he does his job. He's a hardworking. I put some stats out there. He's doing his job. He's a midfielder with a defensive mindset. He's doing a lot of dirty work. It's not his job to score goals for us. It's not his job to do the last pass even, right? He's there to destroy and, be an additional layer of defensive support behind the center backs. He might not be working out. We might need a third center back to create some more momentum. I love what we did in one of those games when we had three center backs with Chanot coming back, and suddenly we abandoned it. And, I wasn't very happy about that. I wish we could ride that three center back a little bit. But look, we're getting at the end of our show here. It's been excellent talking to you both. It's been a very exciting show. As usual, at the end, we like to talk about predictions and what's going to happen at this game. First off, though, I want to apologize for Eric's AI look. He looks like he's not real and he's like a robot. But the man's moving to OKC and he's tethering whatever he's doing from his phone. He's already canceled his internet. But the good news is that I heard that don't you worry about it, buddy. Yeah, you have nothing to fear, or this is a safe place for you. But I was going to say, I heard that the internet cost in OKC is 27 cents a day. So you're going to be fine, buddy. I can't wait for you to push that puppy up and get back to your HD ways, man.
Fiber optic.
Yeah. Whatever you need. I mean, I got 5 on it because you got to fix that shit. But hey, man, listen, I need to talk predictions. So Eric, I start with you since I just roasted you a little bit. First off, good luck with everything. I know you got a lot going on, but talk to me about your predictions for this game. I hope you can watch it because I know that moving is not easy, but talk to me about what you think it's going to happen. Your first game away from BMO as a true non-resident of this town.
Yeah, they're going to win it 3-2 just to say, fuck you for moving, Eric.
I love it. Okay. Katie, as you can see, this is not a PG-13. I hope that your boys are not watching and saying, oh my God, what did we let mom do? But, I love having you. You were great, as I told you would be. We'll leave it at that. I'm sure you will be back. But talk to me about this game. Are you going to make it? And you probably already answered that you can't make the Saturday games, but what do you think it's going to happen? You think LAFC has a win on them, or Ben Olsen does it again, and hence Cherundolo and company another loss or a tie?
No. Okay. First of all, is Steve coming back this game? Is he coaching this game? Is the red card over?
One time suspension, okay. So he's back.
I think that they will. I think LAFC is going to win because we are at our stadium with our 32-52 behind them. So I do think that brings that win to a 2-1.
2-1. The classic 2-1. Hey, I think we go back to a strong defensive stance again. It's been hard to keep a clean sheet at home these days, but it's where we do that best. And I think Coach Dos Santos, which is the defensive mindset behind this team, will get some time to coach the boys. And I love to see 3 center backs. I think it would really help clean out the wings for them to go on some sort of 3-4-1-2, something exciting with Martinez in the middle or as one of the attackers. Please give us something to believe in this team, because we're getting a little bit bored. In the end of the day, we're there to be entertained. Of course, we want the team to win. We don't want to, 3 threes, 4 threes. None of that is good either, right? We want to see 3 points on the board. But the best thing we could do, the best thing we could hope for is a win. And I'm going with a 1-0 win. Giroud scores.
Oh my God.
The craziness of everything. Off the bench, though. I would like him to come off the bench and save us. And we'll be talking about that. So this is our show. Thank you again, Eric. Thank you again, Katie, for being here. We'll be back here, as you can see. Please subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're also on X. We're currently in my own feed, so please subscribe here on YouTube for us. It really helps us out, and you get to have a little bit more experience with the chat and everything. And we'll be back live next week at 6 p.m. It's been great to see you all.
Under back post, Bouanga! Instant impact from the substitute Cengiz Under, and Denis Bouanga has scored for a 3rd straight match. Apeyu gives it away to Under, forward, Bouanga